What up? I hear you just fine. Can you guys hear me? That's exciting. Oh, they're not liking you right now. Um, Hang on.
Hello, it's
Wow,
back.
Monday morning and I gotta handle the intro.
I'm
Good morning,
back.
everyone. Welcome to Good Morning Nasdaq. I'm your host, Huddie, and that's my colleague Dom over there. He can't talk right now.
They
And
said that I sound bad, but
hey,
I don't know
stop talking.
where
I'm
it
in the
was
middle of the intro.
where was it pulling audio from?
If you are new here, this is a show where we talk about the biggest gappers of the day, give you guys some insights onto what we are thinking about them. And then we get on out of here and start the morning. How does that sound for everyone?
Mine was so much better, guys. The intro was really good this morning.
All right.
It
You hit
felt
him with the
it
intro.
felt rehearsed. It felt practiced. We gotta just skip it on. We don't have enough time for that. But if you want to get the chat popping, and just have a technical difficulty, and they'll get on top of it.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know what was
Chat
going.
was quiet, then it was.
My mic was just not on for OBS, but I don't know what they were hearing from me. Like that's kind of weird. Um, they said it was pulling audio, but I don't know. There's no other audio besides me and you, so maybe we've been hacked. Um, Good morning. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that thumbs up button for all of our technical difficulties. I think you guys still love us. And we'll talk about the biggest gappers of the day. There are many. There are a few. There are at least four. So we're going to
Makes
rapid
me want
fire.
to makes me want to throw up.
Don't throw up. We're going to rapid fire through them. Any questions you guys have on them? Any other tickers you want to talk about as we enter the new week? Get those going in the live chat. Hit that thumbs up button as well, and we'll get you out of here on time today. All right, heading into a new week, Huddy, real quick before we talk about the first gapper. What's the mindset? What's the thoughts coming out of last week? China, China, China. You were here on Friday
For
with
one,
Kyle, but
you guys, I left for one day and you guys broke the market.
mm-hmm.
What's going on?
We
Um,
invited all of our friends.
SPY, the SPY looks like it's having a big dip. Crypto looks like it's on the verge of breaking down. You have extended stocks like HIMS and PLTR finally pulling back. All the sectors are kind of unwinding from that December, January spree. It seems like we're heading into like a bear market. Um, what does that mean for small cap? Probably not much, but it does not look good out there. And now I'm looking at a chessboard where I see three or four Chinese blatant scams gapping up multiple hundred percents. This actually reminds me a lot of last February. We had kind of a similar theme, and that's a scary theme as a short seller. Even as a long bias trader, like these are not the stocks that I want to trade. Um, Fortunately, they're not all China scams that are gapping right now, and so there are some that we can kind of wrap our minds around and have a better understanding of. Like maybe it's our average small cap pump and dump, because these Chinese scams, like I just think they operate a bit different. As we all saw with MLGO, I hope everyone stayed safe on MLGO. I did not trade it on Friday, mainly because I was traveling, but the other reason is because every single time it's gapped up, I've taken a max loss on it. I think I'm 3 for 3. So Friday or Thursday night when I saw it gapping, I was like, no way am I, fool me once, fool me twice, but I'm not touching that thing with a 10-foot pole. Um, and now that it ran 500%, we have like four more gapping up. So that's going to make today kind of feels like a headache. That's my Monday thought.
Well, we will see very soon the amount of the headaches that are out there today. We're going to start with STEC, or for all those of you at home who know them personally by Sandtech. out of China, asset management company, 4.33 million float. We kind of talked about this because we had MLGO, we had UPC, we had Holo, we had a few on Friday as well. Is it worth even doing this part of the prep work? Is it worth going through and looking at, well, we know there probably is no news because they're all just China popping on China. But a lot of the times I feel like these ex-China scams have lots and lots of cash, some weird looking dilution, and it's just kind of like, if they want to dilute, they'll find a way to dilute or liquidate.
Yeah. We can, we don't have much time. We can speed round these. I kind of have some notes in front of me. So we did have a run on STEC recently. Right now it's gapping up on no news. I have the float at 8 mil as per Yahoo Finance. Maybe other people have different numbers. Again, Chinese scam. I'm sure that no one really knows the float maybe. I think the most important thing I take away is that it had a huge gap in October and was halted for most of the day. It was just halting every like 5 minutes. So, gapping up 300% again. I think it'll have tight bands. Maybe expect halts in either direction. And again, just like maybe a headache. That's kind of what I'm expecting, but it doesn't have to go down like that, I guess. But that's what happened last time.
Yeah, that resistance topping out in the 330 area has not made a new high since then. Kind of have a lower high down here at 190, then a lower volume, lower high at like 140s before this run right now. Let's take a look at the pre-market action as well. Kind of fading off, probably was a lot higher at 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. Don't have that on my charts here. But is consolidating, going sideways in the 250 area. My candle just changed, so. But so kind of testing and failing at that resistance so far. There was a question in the room that kind of pertains to all these as we pull them up one by one. Do we think that China stocks will follow each other and be some sort of similar sector movement? I think we got a taste of that Friday when MLGO goes from $1 to 3 to 5 to 7 to 9 to almost 12. And, Holo barely gets going on the day, just kind of breaks highs one time. UPC was the other gapper. That was clearly also China, and that kind of failed in the morning to hold up and go higher and hold trend. So if there's any good news, I think, for Gap and Crappers is that if MLGO going from 1 to 12 can't pull a bunch with it and keep strong, then probably not, but you never really know until you start, maybe the second day today of the momentum, they all do start to kind of follow each other, whether it's up or down. But that wasn't necessarily the case on Friday, and I don't know if I expect any of them to do a type of move that we saw MLGO do. So that is STEC, gapping up into resistance. No real history. No news this morning. No real history of crapping either. All of its days with volume are kind of green-bodied candles, but with these gappers, they can change their behavior in an instant. So we'll see if that turns into a breakout or if that is going to fail at that resistance level. Volume a little bit higher, or you're going to open at the volume of that day probably. So we shall see there. Next biggest gapper of the day is YYAI. Yeah. Talk to me about this one, Jim.
Another gross one. Another Chinese company. Used to be ticker CNXA back in the day. Had like a run, was a very complicated run on low volume and very manipulated. Didn't really follow the patterns all that well. I guess they have a shelf and an ATM, which are pending effectiveness. They've had some financial issues. And the last few gaps, 3 out of the 4 of them closed above the open. And the other one barely faded below the open. So not the best gap history. And again, just like, sounds like a headache to me.
Yeah, they actually do have news that they've signed content creation agreement with TikTok for the Middle East and North Africa. I got to imagine on a scan that's what, like a content creation agreement, what you signed up for the services. But they do have some sort of news. You can kind of see some pumpy action back in January, February, March, April of last year. a run from 6 to 50, and then one day giving a lot of that back, showing that kind of pumpy action we've been known to see. That's really all that I'm seeing besides one volume day in January of this year, where it kind of was green, like Huddy said, closed above the open, but didn't really lead to much. Today already significantly bigger move, more volume. All of these are doing pretty good volume right now, and gapping up from 60 cents to $1.90. I got 14 mil for the float here. This looks like a much more open daily chart versus STEC, whereas there's not a ton of resistance overhead here. And like I was saying earlier, they got 770 months of cash left. Feels very China scammy, but you never quite know what they're trying to do with it, and how long it's going to take to get to that fade part of the pattern. Could be this morning, could be a couple days from now. But YYAI, another big gapper, up over 200% right now. The next one, another oldie, RETO, which was going, I believe, on Friday in after hours. They are a 19 million float. No news to report there. They got 10 months of cash left. Anything in the financials that gets you going here?
Yeah, they were supposed to be delisted February 7th, but then they appealed.
Do you see what
So
it says here on Dilution Tracker?
no.
It's like under the major development section, which you can tell like a human wrote it. It says currently being manipulated by Chinese chat groups, rug pull eventually on 8/15/23.
Interesting.
What happened in 8/15? What's 8? August or September?
August.
Huh. Nothing was going on. Oh, wait, that's 2024. Continue talking if you have more about it.
I mean, not much. Yeah, they were supposed to be delisted. They appealed. I think they did a reverse split within the last year, so that's going to be a complication for them. And it really hasn't gapped up big since 2022. So not a whole lot of information on this one other than, yeah, it does fall into that Chinese company type of net. So yuck.
Yeah, if you go to 8/15 on the daily chart, it's actually kind of, they did you a service if you were a trusting member of Dilution Tracker, because it led to a rug pull from 70, or I guess they did a reverse split, so around 70 down to like sub 10 in a day. So they were spot on there right away. RETO, my phone's dinging. No news today. Kind of weird the last 2 days have a decent amount of volume traded. What is this? This is after hours Friday. After hours Friday. I don't see this day. 220. Am I missing something? Oh, little volume day here. Kind of popped up, came back to where it came from, and then ripped in after hours. 40 cents up towards $2. I'm sorry, I was looking for the dig. Not a ton of resistance overhead here, not a ton of history. Once these China pumps kind of pull the rug, you see random sporadic pops. Sometimes the whole sector gets going, and they just, the only thing bringing them together is the word China. And sometimes they have a hard time really bouncing big because they just reliquidate and reliquidate. So obviously most of these coming from their lows, bouncing back into prior levels from the past year or two. So far this went up 171%. Not a lot to play off of here, which kind of makes these a little bit more mentally straining, just with it kind of feels like whatever happens today is just going to be harsh in one direction or the other. But the fact that there's so many of these kind of makes me feel like there's going to be some good faders in there, and maybe some that hold up a little longer than expected. But with MLGO kind of doing the dirty on Friday, I maybe find it hard to believe that something similar is going to happen, but you just never know with these types of stocks. They're so much sketchier than the normal ones we look at. What's next, Steve? ATCH?
ATCH can be next.
What do you got going on there?
This one feels less China to me. They did a split in January, so it's like a 1 mil float now, give or take. Um, they do have a registration for a bunch of convertible notes going on, which shareholders approved the issuance of all those shares on the 31st, and they have about $24 million worth that can be converted at 90% of the VWAP prices. So this one just feels diluted, whereas the other ones don't. But it's also a low float.
Yeah, I think this is the lowest flow of all the ones we've been looking at. I don't have China, but I'm sure it probably is. Mine says it's out of the United States.
Like I said, I don't think this one fits the bill.
Yeah, kind of been trading a little bit less than the others. Harsh pull off the IPO and pretty much been trading sideways at its lows for a while. Just kind of fading off. Every time this one has spiked or gapped up on lowish volume, it has failed. It has been a big red candle. It has closed below the open. And as we fade further and further from those areas, I don't expect there to be a ton of bag holders, but that is resistance. The support of this area is in the $8 and $9 area. Decent volume this morning. Not quite like the others that we've talked about already, but about 20 mil on a $4 stock. Yeah, this one does feel a little bit different. Feels like more precedence for failure, less of a link to China. I didn't see any news specifically for today, but yeah, I like your take here. You said they did do a reverse. Yeah, they had to have done a reverse split. So makes a lot of this resistance really, really far away. So maybe just be a little bit more attentive, a little more careful in terms of risk management if you are trading these things, specifically this one, because there's a lot more range on that daily chart to mess around with. All right. Nikita says ATCH is an earnings winner. Where do we know this? 224. 10Q on 219. Would you still short it? They ask, Huddy.
I mean, like I will. I mean, right now it does not fit my criteria, but yes, I would. I would not shy away necessarily from an earnings winner. That's not like news. There is for me personally, right? And it doesn't mean it's the right or the wrong way. This is just for me. There's zero amount of news that's going to make me shy away from shorting a stock. Most of the reason I won't short a stock is based off technical analysis and fundamentals or share structures. Um, so like I don't have data that says, oh, like it's capping up on earnings, like it's less likely to fail. Like I don't have that data. Maybe you do, and if you do, then okay, play the data. Like, I know some people in our chat like don't like to touch HC Wainwright stocks that are have HC Wainwright underwriter. Like I don't have that data. I will still short an HC Wainwright underwriter. So it's all about what data you have, and I don't know. I think a lot of these like small cap stocks are spoofing their earnings. They're not actually real. It's all manipulation when you're dealing with garbage stocks, right? Like, oh, it's a 50-cent stock, but it had good earnings. Well, it's a 50-cent stock. Like, is it really that good? And even if you read the earnings, like unless you really do some due diligence, like again, a lot of them lie or spoof it in ways that you have to uncover the truth. So I don't personally care.
Yeah. Hammer Trader says Huawei AI is US, not China. I have a hard time believing that, considering all the things that I'm looking at say the word China as the country. The name of the company, and this is just doing a little due diligence, is Wanwu. If I scroll down to the investors and stuff, I got Chinese investors. I got Yanlin Zhang. Even if this was US, I'd think a lot of the regular people just pull this up and look at it are going to correlate this to China. So, I'm pretty sure it's in its next pump. Didn't we look at a pump and dump on it? So, I think China there. All right, working our way through the questions, and we'll get out of here. 9:21. MNDR first Green Day watch. No, it didn't run that much. No, not for me. MNDR only ran from 33 cents to $1. So only like 200%. I liked that key 300+% from Trading Tickers 2 is kind of a good guide just to keep me away from trading too many things that are just on backside. Maybe does have some sort of liquidity trap. Yesterday's volume only 18 mil after doing 450 mil. But we shall see there. Max says they're American Chinese for YYAI. Could be. I didn't see a lot of American where I was looking, except that I read it in English. All right, Steve. That's a lot going into today. Any words of wisdom going into a new week, the last week of February here?
Oh, it's been a tough month. Someone asked, so no trades for you today. That's not necessarily true. I'm just going to avoid the blatant Chinese scams, which is RETO and YYAI, in my opinion. I don't need to go anywhere near those. But if the other things fit my criteria, I am going to play them. So that's kind of where I'm at.
All right. Awesome. Fantastic. Amazing. We'll see everybody in here tomorrow morning, 8:45 a.m. for another episode of Good Morning Nasdaq. We're going to head to the screens, head to the Clover trading room. You can always access that over at clovertrading.io. Only 43 likes today. Kind of sad, but if you want to hit on your way out, make us feel better, give us a pity like. We appreciate that as well. Link in the description if you're interested in signing up. Less than a month away from our in-person boot camp in Los Angeles, California. Coming up quickly, coming up soon. So get yourself signed up for that. And here's to hoping that we have a fantastic, amazing week. We wrap up this month goodly. And that we all stay safe and are happy doing what we love. Right, Huddie?
Right.
All right, everybody. We'll see you first thing tomorrow morning. Have a wonderful trading session today.
Bye.